and I'd like to introduce Jay for the trademark scenario.
All right, so I guess Rick and John, if you could play out a little scenario about a name of a product.
So the company I'm working for is looking to come up with a catchy new name for its whey protein product.
Okay, so let's say that I'm the chief marketing officer and I've come up, John, I've got this incredible name. It's the perfect name for a protein product. We're going to call it ISO. It's a isolate product, so we're going to call it ISO 100.
I'll take that name and I'll run labels, and we'll do the manufacturing of the product, put the labels on, commence our advertising, and we go to market.
I'm calling a flag on this play because this one hits very close to home, and my mentor, Wildman, is still there.
You're getting a double flag on this play, and the first reason is ISO 100 is a registered trademark of Dymatize. Rob Wildman is the chief science officer of Dymatize, and if you see Rob, that is not the face of a man that you want to get a letter from. So
I'm actually drinking out of my International Protein Board mug, and hopefully that'll appease Rob to some degree for the infringement of the Dymatize trademark.
You definitely don't want to do that, but the mug should help. So in this situation, a simple Google search would have likely solved the issue. You would have typed in ISO 100. You would have seen Dymatize pop up. However, it's crucial to have a full trademark search conducted prior to releasing a product. And this is for two main reasons. One, you definitely don't want to infringe on another person or entity's intellectual property. But also, you want to make sure, is this something that we can trademark ourselves and protect in our specific category? Some of you may or may not know that dietary supplements, protein shakes, and protein bars all fall under distinct classes under the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So if you're looking to trademark a protein bar in the category for dietary supplements, you may be doing yourself a disservice. And that's where a good attorney can come in and guide you along the process. In addition, some names are just never able to be trademarked. Something that's merely descriptive, such as crunchy protein bar, it's just a name that describes what the product is, that's not going to be able to be trademarked. So you better tell your marketing team to get a little more creative than that. Some names are too closely related to another already registered trademark. And that's where, again, an attorney could come in, do a full comprehensive search on the USPTO and let you know if there are other names that are closely related. In the situation that we just spoke about, let's say you tried to do ISO 101. That would probably be too close to ISO 100 and would not be able to be trademarked. Another consideration when we're talking about intellectual property is if you're planning on selling in other countries. So yes, United States, it's great. You can see I have a wall, a beautiful wall behind me. And this wall is a wall of trademarks. And I've built this wall. But the United States is not the only country that most of these brands are selling in. So you're going to want to look to see, are we selling in Europe? Are we planning on selling in China? Are we selling in South America? And look to see if you can get counsel to guide you on whether or not we need a plan to either prevent infringing on another company's property or to protect our own, both, and how to handle that.
So obviously then what you're saying is you definitely want to do a search to make sure that before you use a name, that name is clear, that you can get, the trademark on that name. And then you want to register to protect it. If you've just searched it and it's clean and it's a good mark and you think it's going to be a good description for your product, a good name, you want to protect it. You want to put a TM on your product and then ultimately an R on your product once that trademark is registered, once that name. But is that your only consideration, just names, or is there something else you might want to search?
So you definitely want to search to see if anything pops up on the internet, but you also want to see if there's things in other categories that might be closely related to your category.
How about the design of the packaging?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because, Rick, you have a pretty good example of when you fail to search for a design and the packaging components and coloring, what could potentially happen, right?
Yeah, and I was at the Arnold a couple of years ago. You were there, Sean. I remember seeing you there that year. And I ran into a company that, not one of our clients, that told me this horror story where he trademarked and searched and trademarked the name of his product, but didn't do a design search for the packaging of the product, the color scheme, the shapes of the packaging, the logo on the packaging. And while the name was clean, the logo and the way it was designed was very, very, very reminiscent of a very well-known brand that I won't mention the name of. And so he got a cease and desist letter from that brand saying, we don't have a problem with the name of your product. Our problem is with the design of your packaging because it looks like our design. Your products look like our products. You need to take them off the market. And he wound up having to do a very expensive recall of his products to redesign the packaging. So I think the answer is, and as lawyers, Alan always, or Alan Feldstein, or one of our good friends and one of my colleagues, has always said, you can pay lawyers a little bit up in the front end, pay me now, or you can pay me a lot more later. And so the cost of not getting good legal advice on issues like trademarks and many of the other issues that we've talked about, the cost in the back end is many, 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 many times, and I'm sure you, John, know this as well. It isn't overly costly to get good advice on quality control, on compliance issues, on regulatory and on legal issues up front. And that's definitely the much more cost-effective way to do it.
And just one more thing on trademarks while we're talking about it. Rick, you mentioned the TM symbol. That's a good way to indicate to competitors or consumers that you're planning on filing for a trademark. You don't actually need to do anything in order to use that TM symbol. So if it is a mark you're planning on using, you should make sure that it's featured on your labels, your website as well. And the other thing is you can file for a trademark name with the intention to use it as long as that intention is true. And you have up to 3 years to use that name. So even if it's not a product that you're planning on using right now, if you're planning on using it a year down the line, you can file for it now. And this way you won't run into issues down the line.